This is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to share a story. I want to add some stories and share some very interesting facts about my mom. Um, she passed away 2 weeks ago today, and I figured that I want to, in little installments, tell some stories. Things that are, I think, interesting and important, especially to me. And there is one thing that I want to share with you that is so incredible that it should be mentioned. And I wish I could have had my mom just be on here with me to talk about this because I suggested it and she didn't like the idea of it at all. She didn't want me to talk about it, so I had to wait. And now I will talk about it. My parents, when they got married, they went about having children. I had an older brother who was born. Unfortunately, he died at birth. His name was going to be Christopher. He died, and the doctors told my mother that you have issues with carrying children, and we don't recommend that you should try to have children. You're not built for it. Well, lo and behold, she got pregnant again. It was me. A lot of things happened. A lot of interesting and bizarre things happened. First off, since my mother couldn't support a child the way she was built, they decided to pack her with all kinds of wrappings and stuff to support the child. And she was having a real hard time of it and spent a lot of time in bed. And she told me this so many times. And I always remember that she said she was lying in bed and she heard a voice. And the voice that the child will live. She said it was a woman's voice. And to her dying day, she believed it was the voice of her mother. Now, her mother died in childbirth with her, so she never met her mother. And if that's what she thought, let's leave it that way. But nonetheless, she had a very strong sense of confidence that I was going to live. Now, the thing is that since I was so tightly packed to support me, it had some profound effects upon me as a child. And I was in no great hurry to come out, even when I was supposedly due. My mother's water broke, but I didn't come out. They went to the hospital. They sent my mom back. My father drove my mother on a bumpy road. Went back home. He went to work. That night, he was driving back from work and saw my grandmother driving my mother to the hospital, going the other way. Of course, he made a quick turn and followed behind. And I was in no hurry to go either. They were even talking about doing C-section, but I waited until midnight of the next day. And lo and behold, I was born. Now, I was premature. Even though I had been in the womb for 9 months, I had no fingernails, no hair. I had webbing all over me, webbing between my fingers and my toes. My tongue was connected still to the bottom of my mouth. It was something really bizarre. And due to all the packing, as you went down my legs past the kneecap, my legs were bent forward with the toes facing my kneecap. And the doctors immediately told my mother that there's a very good chance I'll never walk. I had heart trouble. I had a hernia. I had all kinds of stuff all at once. When I was born, I was a mess. And I was just barely 5 pounds. And my mother, who was never one to say no or give up, she went to an old doctor. And the old doctor said, don't listen to them. Here's what you do. Every day you take your son's legs and you stretch them out and pull them to you. And they're going to bend back. But he said the bones are soft. Keep doing that every day. Keep pulling and pulling. And every day she worked on that. Every day she did that. And eventually my legs started to straighten out. And eventually I put on braces, and eventually I could walk. But if it wasn't for that wonderful tenacity on her part, wanting to try so hard to make sure my legs worked and everything else worked, I had, as I said, I was a pretty sick kid. My sister followed me, no packing. She was like 10 pounds. She was healthy as a horse. And my following sister, unfortunately, was very sick too. The umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck. There was a question whether she was going to survive. They put her in an incubator. Eventually that led to blindness. But she's all right now. And the three of us are fine. And the three of us are very proud of who our mother was. I'm very proud of her. And I've told her, how do you say thank you for an amazing thing that she did? But she looked after so much stuff, and she said it was a long time. She had to do that all day, sit there and stretch the legs. But she made sure I could walk. The doctor said he's going to have trouble with his balance. He's going to have trouble walking. And that's very true. I do have trouble with balance, and I do have trouble with walking, and I have bad knees. My knees are terrible. But my mom's hard work made sure that I could walk, and I think that's really an amazing thing. She was quite an amazing lady. She went through all kinds of hell in her life. I'll talk about some of the other stuff she did. But she was definitely my hero. And she was the one that brought me through all by herself. My father was gone. And after I was 11 years old, my father was gone. And a lot of other stuff happened, which I'll talk about another time. But one thing that she did do, she heard that advice from what she thought was her mom, and she knew I was going to survive. And she did take care of it. She made sure everything worked. That was my mom. She always made sure it worked. Thank you, Mom. I love you.